Well, I think I did things too quickly again. So it turned out that on my meters here, I blew the milliamp fuse. 10 amp fuse is still good, and I can measure voltage and all that stuff. But I pulled the fuse out of the inside. I had to actually unscrew everything, and this 500 milliamp, I think it is, fuse, yeah, 500 milliamp fuse is dead. And then I found this old clunker in the garage, and I put it onto the amperage scale, 200 milliamps, and was trying to do the checks for the B plus across the B plus fuse holder, and I somehow blew that the fuse that's inside here, which is unfortunate. So now I don't have a milliamp. But before this one went, I was actually reading about 75 milliamps on the left side here. So I went ahead and I changed out the new transistors, output transistors, the NPN and the PNP. And so I buttoned everything together, and then put the heatsink back onto the Q5, Q6, whatever the numbers are. Anyway, the three transistors that are on this heatsink here, and then I put the heatsink back on. And then because I did all of that change, I went back and did a voltage ammeter test. The 10 amp, as I said, still works. So I dialed it up, and then it was sort of hovering at 0.6 amps basically. And what I'm finding here is that the left side was getting, sorry, this is the right channel, but left side looking back, towards the back. So the right channel here started getting quite warm. This one stayed cold. And I did while it was sort of warming up, I did the DC bias, or the DC offset, or whatever you call it, on both of these. And this one was reading, actually, before it was always reading a positive value, but now I've swapped out the transistors, and it was reading a negative, I think 5 or 6 millivolts. And then this one was reading about 6 on the positive side, and now it's measuring on the negative side. But anyway, what's happening here is this one's getting warm, this one is cold, and then I felt this board here, and it was getting quite warm as well. This one was, it was getting warm, but not as warm as this side. So frustrating. I've been doing this for a while now, and it just, anyway, so I'm not sure if I should put back the transistors, the old transistors on this one. Maybe I measured them all up too, and they were all measuring NPN, PNP on my little tester here. So all the transistors, the new output transistors, all measure up good. And yeah, where to next? So not even sure whether I should go and try and plug it in and see if I can get some sound out of it. Yeah, after about 5 or 6 minutes, this was getting quite warm to the touch. So rather than, and the voltage wasn't changing. So here we can turn it on here. So I've got rheostats down. This is in line. Turn the power switch on, and then I can start dialing back up again. And since I put the new transistors on, it's going up quite rapidly here. So I'm at 13 volts about, according to the scale, but I wouldn't go by the scale. I'd go more by that. You can see we're at 0.33, climbing. We're now, according to the black dial here, about 26 volts. And it just drops down. That's usually what happens. And then it starts to climb back up again. And here we're at 30 volts. We're still not getting much light on the indicator lights, the power indicator lights. And now we're up at around about 42 volts. And my thing just died. There, we're back up again, 0.16. I had left it on too long, so now it's back on again. Okay, and we're climbing. So now we're at about 52 volts. It's about 0.189. And climbing up towards 60, 70 volts almost, 0.21. This is actually reading lower than I did when I was heating up. So maybe I jiggled something here. So it's 0.249 amps. We're now up at 91 volts. Now it's reading 0.265 amps. Nothing smoking inside here. And then we're climbing, 0.34 volts. And the last time I did this, I was getting 0.67, 665 kind of voltage. I'm probably at max voltage here, as you can see by the meter here. So it's a little over 117, 120. So this is 120 circuit. I don't know what the wall is reading right now. So we're probably at max here. So it's 0.385. And now, let's see what's happening. Now it doesn't seem to be, have to give it some time here. But I can see that the lights are glowing quite brightly. No fuses are popping down below. All the fuses are good. I can see the filaments from here, so nothing's fried. And what I ended up doing, because I couldn't do the bias, is I just did resistance, and I made sure the pot resistance, this one I had a good value for the bias. I think I had 120, which is the initial set, and then it dropped down to 75, which I think is what you're after. And then the offset was good, but then, like I say, I changed out the transistors after that. And so now we're hovering. And of course we can see the meter here. So what I'll do, this one doesn't tilt, so I'll put the base on here and measure this channel DC bias. So it's getting 1.2 roughly millivolts, because we're on the millivolt scale there. Now it's down to 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. It's dropping. Well, now it's negative 0.1. Then I go down to the other side here. Whoops. I want to be. So I got the ground wire in. And this one's measuring minus 11. Minus 11.2. Minus 11.4. There we go. Still, this one's quite cool. And let's do this one again. So this one doesn't feel like it's warming up anymore, like it did last time. Maybe like I say, maybe I jiggled something. And now I'm getting 0.5, 0.4, 1.3, 1.4, minus 1. So it's reading minus 2.3 as time goes on. And they're both quite cool now. This one doesn't feel like it's heating up anymore. Anyway, there we have it. And we're reading at a consistent 0.359 amps. at max voltage. So we'll let it sit for a while and then do some settings and see what happens after about 10 minutes. All right, we'll see what happens here.